Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a complete Flutter app building tutorial. Here you will learn how to build an e-commerce app for food delivery, and this app would be both for iOS and Android. And this app would also come with a complete backend. And why build this app? Because you want to master Flutter framework, because you want to master Dart programming language and backend framework, and you also want to get a job. Well, after doing this course, you'll get much better or master Flutter framework and Dart programming language. If you're new to Flutter, or if you're coming from another background or another programming language, or if you are a fresh college graduate, this is the right place for you, because this would be a complete app. And if you're looking for a job, right after finishing this tutorial, you will have something heavy to write on your CV. Here we'll cover some major features. Well, first we'll learn how to show products based on category. Then you will learn how to build shopping carts, place your order, track order. And after that, you'll also learn how to build user profile and pages like sign in and sign up pages. And we'll also see how to build user address location from Google Map. And you can also build zone-based order for users. And the whole app would keep track of user authentication. Some other major features will cover Firebase notification, and we'll see how to do payment and payment SDK like PayPal. And then from the backend, you'll also learn how to upload new products and see order details and update order, and as well as you'll also see user profile on the backend. Well, in tutorial part 1, we'll have 12 hours, and in 12 hours, we'll cover a lot of useful ideas. First, we'll start off by building 4 complex UI screens, and for building those screens, we will be using stack and positioned widget as well as different slivers. We'll cover sliver app burst and sliver box to adapter. And one of the complex UI would be animated page view, where we'll see how to scale up, scale down, and animate the position. And right after that, we will learn about our app architecture, which would be very useful further down the road when you are going to build a new app. And here we'll cover API client repository and controllers, and we'll also learn what are they and how to build them, and we'll see their connection with each other. And after learning this concept, we'll see how to load them in the dependencies, and we make sure that our dependencies would be loaded when our app starts. And then we'll go ahead and start working with building models, classes, with the JSON map and a list. And I know that this is a very scary concept for Flutter beginners, so here we'll take it slowly and cover things in detail step by step. And once we are equipped with these ideas, then we'll go ahead and build our first product controller, cart controller, and we'll learn how to process the related data. And throughout this first part, we'll also cover about responsive layout. So that also means that when we run our app on iOS or Android, different devices, they would look exactly the same, but at the same time they will have proportional size. So right after this tutorial part 1, you'll definitely get better at Flutter and Dart programming language. Well, in part 2, we'll have 12 hours, and by 12 hours you will finish 8 complex UI screen, and after this you'll really become a hero in Flutter front-end development. And over here you'll learn how to build complex models, classes, and working with JSON map and list. Another major feature would be working with Google Map and how to interact with Google Map and save user data. And then you'll learn how to build location, user, and auth controllers and how to process the related data. So we'll learn and we'll focus on how to pick up user location based on user tab. And then you'll learn how to keep track of user orders and show the user related notification from Firebase. And you will also learn how to set up PayPal payment using PayPal SDK, and all of them would be also covered in the backend for user management. Another major feature would be zone-based user location and service. So by the end of part 2, you will really master Dart programming language. And in tutorial part 3, we'll have 3 hours, and here we'll take care of some of the platform specific issues like notification for both Android and iOS, and we'll also see how to turn this mobile app into web app. And this is where the Flutter shines, okay? Because Flutter, once you write code in one platform, pretty much you can run it everywhere. So you just need to know how to build a responsive app. And at the end, we'll see how to publish this app in the App Store. Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. So this is where we left off last time, and let's go over the detail that we did last time. Well, last time actually we did one of the things that was showing this map and selecting address and save it to the database. And for that one, we created a new Dart class, which is called add address page. And inside this, we have initialized some variables, especially camera position, and there is a lat-long variable. Now these two are crucial when you first time show the Google map on your screen, so you had to set them up, and that's what we did last time. So camera position takes lat and lang. So here I have a lat and lang, and inside this actually I have defined another lat and lang. But of course, as you can see, they are taking the same value. And then we are checking whether the user has logged in or not, and whether the user information is there or not. If user information is empty, then we go ahead and get user information from the database. So this is a get request, and then we also check if user already has address or not. If address list is not empty, then what do? We go ahead and get the address. This is once again a get request. Now if we are able to get the address, then we set it, then we get them. Okay, now of course we set them in our controller, we get them, and then we put the camera position, whatever the value you get from database, we put them in camera position, and also as well as in our initial value. So in both cases we are using the same latitude and longitude. So this is only if the user has already registered, and if the user has already fill in this place for saving address. If user address list is empty, that means that user has no information. It means user didn't come to this page before or didn't save it. In this case, we'll fall back to this initial variable that we have initialized. So this is the default value. Okay, all right. And after that, actually, as we saw earlier, that we also check if user has their model established or not, which means user's other information is there or not. Okay, well, if user model is not null, that means that we have user information for example, like address and contact person. This is what I'm talking about over here. We get them and set them so that we can show them in our text controller. These are all text controller. Then we also get the user address and put it in address controller. Okay, yeah, and after that over here, the most important part is this Google map, this plugin, and it does take as you can see over here, it takes initial camera position. Let's see, open it up. Okay, now for initial camera position, it takes camera position, this constructor itself, and inside it we pass the initial position. Now once again, this would either come from over here if the user already filled in, which means older information, or this one. Okay, all right, and then we set up other properties, and one of them is my location enabled. This is quite important. And then we have this camera idle. So now this method gets called when you move the map. Right after moving is done, this method gets called. Okay, so on camera idle, so when the camera has stopped moving, what do? We talk to the database, and for that one we send, before we talk to the database, actually we send a camera position. Now this position is coming from here, as you can see. As the camera moves, this method on camera move, which takes a callback, this one gets called, and every position is taken as it moves. So if you move it like this, as you keep moving, then this information, this position is taken from the camera itself as you keep moving, and then each time the position is fed to this one or given to this variable, and once the camera stopped moved, it takes the final position, which we give it to this method that we created, update position. Okay, all right. And this is the basic one that gets called when camera is created first time. And we can do much more thing over here, but for now we are not doing that. So this is the most important part. So once again, for Google Map, you have to apply camera position. It could take either old value or a default value. Of course, old value comes from the database, and another one is camera idle. Here you can call a method when the camera stops moving. So you can call any method you want based on your requirements. And on camera move, definitely we get the position and send it to the camera position. Okay, this one. So that's what we have done last time. And after that, actually, there was a bug when I left it. So this part you need to add over here, otherwise you will get an error when you register it to a new address. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right, so here I need a method. If you come to this location controller, well, I need to create the method. We'll check if it is empty. Now what it does is it tries to get user address from local storage if we have stored in locally. Okay, if it is empty, what it would do, it would take the address from the server and save it in the local storage. Okay, all right. So it's only if the user address list is not empty, because the user may have registered, but now they changed the device and logged into a new device. But of course, in that case, in the new device, the local storage would be empty. So we're trying to check if the local storage is empty or not. If it is empty, then we talk to the server, actually using this one. You will see that when we come to this page, address list, this variable should not be empty because we are already checking. So if we fall in this condition, which means that we already have some address from this server. Now I think this one is coming from, let's see. So if this is not empty, definitely we can get the value, and we get the last value. Anyway, so if we get it, so we go ahead and save it. Now this is the method. Let's go ahead. So we want to save it over here. Okay, now before we go ahead and save it, we need to get it first. Okay, so how to get it? We are getting it from here, so we go ahead and save it, and then we do a conditional check. Okay, now of course the method body is not there and method is not there as well, so we need to go ahead and create this. So we'll come to location controller, and over here we'll create a new method which is called get user address from local storage, and get user address, this has been defined previously. So we see if this current user, the one has logged in this device, whether that user has address or not. If the user has address, then we take it, otherwise we return empty string. Now as you can see over here, we check it whether it's empty or not. If it is empty, it means that user definitely has logged in a new device, but there is no information in the local storage. For that one, we go ahead and take it from the address list, and then we set it over here. Okay, so that's how it works. All right, so this is the thing that we need to fix over here. So as I said, it is a bug fix. Anyway, so now with this, so far over here, things are working good. But what do we want to do? We want to go to a new page if we want to click on this. Okay, now here the map is really tiny. So what I want to click on this, and for that one, I want to go to a new page. Okay, all right. So for that one, we'll come to this address page, and then here we'll create a new file. We'll call it pick address map .dart. Okay, All right, now here we'll create a stateful class, pick address map, like this. Now let's go ahead and import the necessary dependencies. Yes. Once again, what do we want to do here? We want to be able to click on this, go to a new page and see a bigger map, and we can select from there because it's really too small. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Now for this reason, we also have to set up a route over here, and so first I will declare a static variable over here, static const string, and pick address map, and here it's pick address. Now here we'll create a method, string get pick address route, or yeah, just go ahead and call it page, as we are calling page for other routes as well. Now here you want to call this one. All right. Now over here we also want to set up a get page. Here we do get.page and get page name, and pick address map, this one, and here we'll have page. Now in this case we would be passing a widget or a screen as its argument, so we want to get it over here. Now this is the one we want to send, this pick address map, and we want to send it from here actually. Okay, now from this Google map. Now Google map will have an ontap event, so let's see where it is. Okay, this one. So as we click on this, we want to pass this one as a widget or a class. Okay, and after passing it, we want to grab it over here. So to simply grab it over here, we'll do get.arguments. Okay, now we need to save it to something. All right, so pick, let's pick map address. Okay, then we'll instantiate it, pick address, and that's all. So actually that's how you pass a widget or screen, which is a little different than passing parameters, as you see, like when you want to pass certain ID or number. So with this you just pass everything. Okay, if you want to get a widget or screen as its arguments. Now over here we do return pick map address. Okay, so this is the screen or class or dart file we want to return. Okay, so as simple as that one. Now we need to come over here. So here we'll have ontap event, and just like this, let's see. So it takes a let lang, or over here you want to apply a parameter to it, so we'll call it let lang. You can call it anything actually, but we are not going to use it, but you need to pass, otherwise you will get error. Okay, so here first we want to define the route type, so we do get to named. Okay, now as you see it takes a string. Okay, string name, and we already have the string name, so that's a route helper dot pick map address, or we can do get pick map address, this one, because do remember this returns a string, which is this one, return type is string. This is a fat arrow function. Anyway, all right, so now we can pass our arguments over here, and we'll simply do arguments, and for this one we'll pass pick map address, this one. Okay, all right, let's see. Yes, okay, Well, now for now it doesn't take anything as its argument inside of this one, but we need to send a lot of information inside. So now let's come over here, and since it's a stateful widget, and let's see what are the parameters we can pass from here. Okay, well, one of the thing we'll pass, that's called final bool type, and that would be, we'll call it from sign up, so whether we are coming from sign up page or not, but this would be a lot more useful later. And final bool from address area, so we are coming from address page or not, or address. Final, let's see, well, for now, yeah, these are the two things that we are going to use. And now we need to put them in the constructor. Okay, and they should be required. Let's see. And we also want to send from here Google Map controller, because for our whole application we just want to create one Google Map and we want to pass it around. You don't want to create many instances of Google Map because that's a very heavy thing to do. Anyway, so here we do final Google Map controller, I think. Okay, and over here we do Google Map controller. Okay, now let's say inside this we also need to have I think this dot Google Map controller. Yes, the error is gone. Now we'll come over here. So here we do have there's three things that we need to pass. One is sign up, from address page, and Google Map controller. Here we do from sign up. So this time we are not going from sign up page. From here we are going from address page, so that would be true. And as well as over here we want to be able to send the Google Map controller and the location controller dot, let's see, what do we have here? Let's come at the top. Okay, that's a map controller. So here we'll pass dot map controller. Okay, so now with this we should be good to go. So if we run the app, and we'll see that we can click on this and go to a new page. Okay, as we click on this one. All right, so let's restart our app. Okay, and I will minimize it over here. Okay, and let's come over here, address page. Okay, here we are, and now we want to be able to click on this. Oh, that means it's working. It's black. That's black means working. I mean, we are going to a new page, right? So this is our new page. Of course, we don't have anything here. We just have a simple container, not even a scaffold, so it's black. So we can put a scaffold inside this. Okay, all right, and now it becomes wetter, so it means that it's working. Okay, well, the next thing we want to show over here is a map. So that's what we want to show. Well, we want to show the map, and map would be inside a stack widget, and stack widget inside safe area, and safe area would be inside a body. So here let's go ahead and define body, and here we do safe area, and we'll put everything in the center. So we do a child and center. Now sized box, let's do child one more time, and the sized box, and here would give it a width is double dot max finite. Okay, and most probably we need a const somewhere. Yeah, all right. Okay, so that's fine, and after that we want to have a child over here inside this sized box, and I will call it stack widget. Now it'll take children and like that. Okay, now let's see. So most probably we need to remove this one. Okay, right, so they don't work like that together. Okay, now inside this we want to have our Google Map. map, this one. Okay, now as you see, it initially takes camera position. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Now for sending camera position, you have a camera position constructor. Okay, now camera position, this may sound very sophisticated or advanced, but this is the way Google let you see the view of a map, more like you're looking through a camera or taking picture using a camera, or you're moving the camera. Camera is more like the eye, and you see through your eye. Okay, so that's why they call it camera position. When I first came in touch with this one, I was also a little bit surprised, but later on it made sense that why they call it camera position. Now if you hover over on this, you'll see that camera position takes at least one required argument, which is a target. Okay, now you can put it here, target, but target itself takes lat and lang. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and create variables at the top. So we'll have a default value as well as value that is given. Okay, anyway, so over here we will do late and lat lang, and we'll call it initial position. Okay, so we'll initialize it later, and later on we'll also have Google Map controller. Okay, and we'll call it map controller, and this would be coming from a lot of them from here. Like as you see, we have Google Map, and as well as a late camera position. Let's see, camera position. All right, so now inside this we need to have one method that's called init state. So as we come to this page, we want to initialize some state first. Okay, and we want to set up some precondition and check. Okay, now over here we will check if the user has already logged in or not. Okay, or that means that user has previously set up this address or not before we go ahead and do the other stuff. So over here we do get.find. Okay, and here we do location controller. Let's see, I think we need to import it. At the same time, we need to import Getx first. Get this one. Okay, right. And location, let's see. Okay, anyway, it is not picking up. Address list is empty or not. Okay, all right, I think now it auto imported at the top, as you can see over here. So we are checking if the user has previously set up information or not. Okay, now address list, as you see that this is address list over here, and if we do Control F, we'd see that several places we have address, like over here. So this is one of the get request where it gets everything from the server. Okay, now I believe this is also happens somewhere from this page. So this is the one. So this takes all the information about address from the server, and then we put this in address list. Now address list, this one has a getter. Now this is the getter. Okay, so this is the one that we are accessing right now. So if it is empty, then we'll have some default value over here. Okay, so here we do initial position, and we use lat lang. Okay, it takes latitude and longitude. So here we do 45, 52, 1563. I think that's what we want to send. And longitude is the -122.677433. Okay, so far this is what we want to send. And we also want to set up a camera position. And now camera position itself, say lat, it takes camera position, over here we would send initial position, which is lat lang, and then we'll have zoom, say around 17. So these are the two values that we want to pass if address list is empty, which means that over here, as we saw early, let's go ahead and find it. So if this has not been called somehow, it means this would be empty. If this is called before you come to this page, which means this would not be empty. So anyway, so that is the condition that we are checking. So now with this, we check this one. If address list is empty, then we set this one. Now, if address list is not empty, the opposite of this one, that means we can get the information from the server. Okay, so here we check this one. If get.find, and we do location controller, and then address list, and then is not empty. Okay, let lang, and here it takes double, so we need to send data type double. But the question is, where do you get this data from? Just once again, do remember, if you are coming to this page, well, here two possible probabilities. One, either previously user has saved some information in the database, or user has done nothing. Okay, user never saved it. So of course, if user never saved it, which means the information is not in the database, so we'll fall back to this condition. Okay, if user saved in the database, okay, that also means that you can get it. How do you get it? You see over here, just now we created a method over here, get user address. So what it did, it checked if the address is null or not, but user already has in the database. In that case, we take it, save it, and put it in this local storage. Okay, so which means that if user previously saved in database, and even if you come to a new device, when you come to this page, the local storage, the information would be updated. It means that in the local storage you will already have it. Okay, of course, once again, if the user never saved it, so we'd never fall back to this condition. So from here, what we could do, we can directly go ahead and check the local storage when you fall into this condition. Hopefully it makes sense. All right, so here we do double.parse, and inside we want to set a string. So here we do get.find. Okay, now local storage, local location controller, this one. Now here we do get address, this one, and then here we do latitude. Now I will simply go ahead and copy this so that we don't need to write again, and then I'll replace this one, and then here I think we do have a typo, and here we'll use longitude. All right, and then okay, so now that you can see okay what's going on. Okay, all right, so, and we need to put semicolon over here. Okay, all right, now you may remember from previous lesson, get address. Okay, so which is this one. Now this takes information from the local storage. If you go over on it, inside you see it checks in the local storage. Okay, so yes, once again, if the address is not empty, I just explained that it has to be in the local storage somehow. Okay, so now we get information from the local storage which user saved previously. Anyway, now that is the initial position. Now we also need to set up our camera position. Now camera position once again takes latitude and zoom. Okay, zoom variable. So for this one, now I'll set up over here camera position, and here I would do camera position. Okay, now simply for target I'll pass initial condition, initial position, which is this one, because this means latitude and longitude, and then we'll pass zoom parameters and say 17. All right, so with this, our when we come to this page, we are checking the init state, whether user has never saved. In that case, we'll fall back to this one. User whether somehow saved information in the database, then we fall back to this condition. Okay, now with this over here, actually we are pretty good. So here we can just simply pass camera position. So here we would pass initial position as our camera position, and we would do zoom 17. Okay, yeah, so that's one way to go, and one parameter to set up. And then we have actually a lot more. Now here we can also send like zoom controls enabled. We'll set it to false. We don't want to zoom in. And we'll also have on camera move. As you move the camera, now this is quite important. As you move the camera, you want to take every position as the camera is moving, and then update your camera position, which is this one, with the moved position. So over here it takes a parameter which is called camera position. Okay, and we'll call it camera position. Now inside this, we'll just simply set camera position equal camera position. So as the camera keeps moving, the position is given to it immediately. And the other one is on camera idle, and over here it doesn't take anything, but it returns a callback. And inside this you can have your own function, which means after the camera stops moving. Okay, so you do get.find, and we do location controller, and here we do update position. Now update position takes camera position, and that's what we are sending. Now here we need to send our camera position, which is this one, and here we'll simply set it to false, because over here this page is this page. Okay, all right, so now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and simply restart our app, and we'll see what's going on. All right, so here we are, and this is the address we have. Now if I click on this, let's see what's going on. So yes, it takes me to a new place. Okay, all right, and now we can move the camera, and this is beautiful. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and work on a loading icon. As we load it, we want to show that there is a loading icon. Well, to do that, we need to come to this page while we're already here, and right after it, actually we want to, let's see, right after this Google map right over here. Okay, yeah, so below it, so we want to show an image from our assets, and that should show the loading icon. Okay, so here's the thing. Here we do center and child. Now here we need to do a conditional check, and we do location controller. Here's one thing before we go ahead and do it. Let me wrap this thing around, wrap this scaffold around get builder. So I'll cut this one, and here I would do get builder, and here the type would be, the controller type would be location controller, and here we'll have instance of location controller, and I will call it location controller, and right after that we'll return like this. Okay, cool. Now with this we'll be able to access the instance and related property from the instance. So here we do child and location controller loading. So here this one. Now if this is still loading, then we want to if it's still loading, actually the condition, if it's false, let me come over here. Actually, let's walk you through the variable. So this is the variable that I'm talking about. Okay, so if it is false, then we'll show one icon. If it is not false, which means true, which also means that it's loading, because when we hit this update method, it becomes a true immediately, and once we are done with everything, that means loading is done. So right over here we want to set it to loading false. Okay, so here we do false. Now if we come over here, we are checking it. So when you go to the page, definitely first time when you hit this one, so let's see, yeah, it would become true, right? So we'll wait until it becomes false. So once the loading becomes false, we want to show image.assetImage. Now here we'll have assets image pick marker.png. Now here we'll have height 50 and width 50. Okay, all right. So otherwise we'll show this circular progress indicator, this one. Yeah, so what's happening here, if this is become false, that means that the request has been completed. So we will show this image on the map. So here we'll be able to see an image. Now this image is coming from here inside this assets, I think somewhere here. Let's see, name is pick marker. So this one. Okay, all right. Anyway, let's go ahead and restart our app and see whether it's working or not. Okay, and now we hit on this. Okay, well, it is supposed to show an image, but it says that it couldn't find it. So that's definitely our problem here, marker. Okay, now it should be fixed. Yes, so this is what we wanted to see. All right, and over here it does look like we have a bit of error, but I think the error should be gone once you restart it, because we can already read the image, so this is not a problem. And yeah, so yeah, this time the error is gone, and this is the one that we wanted to show. Okay, great. And well, next we want to be able to show the current address over here actually. Okay, all right, so the current address works like this. Let me show you what I'm talking about so that we know what's going on. So let's reboot it, and right over here, so we have an address, right? So this address we want to actually show over here as well. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Well, now to do that, right after this over here, this one and this one, let's see. Okay, we have to be inside the stack widget. This is our Google map. Okay, so right after this, we will have a new widget, and we'll do it using positioned widget. Okay, all right. Now here we'll have top, and let's see, positioned. Okay, we'll take care of that later. Here we'll have dimensions, dimensions dot say we want padding, so we do height over here. So for now, let's go ahead and do 45, and we'll also have left one, okay, and the right one. So dimensions dot say width over here 20, and right over here dimensions dot right well, that should be also width 20. Okay, and right after that we need a child, otherwise we'll still have an error. Okay, now here we'll have a container, but in future we'll also have an ontap event because we want to be able to search. Okay, so here we'll give it a height, and we'll give it a height 50. All right, and let's save it and see. Of course, we can't see it yet because there is no content. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here we also want I see, give it a decoration. Okay, so here we do box decoration, decoration. Okay, and let's give it a color. Okay, now here we do app colors dot main color, this one, and we'll have border radius. So border radius dot circular, and we'll use dimensions over here, dimensions dot radius. We'll have a small radius, so just go ahead with 10 because this is 20. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, so this is what I have over here. Okay, so yeah, so over here actually we want to show the text, but right now we don't have any text yet. Okay, well, now inside this actually I want to put an icon, and the address, the one we have currently. So we want to have a child over here, and the child should be a row. Okay, yeah, so right inside this container over here we'll have a child, and we'll have a row, and then children, and then we want to have an icon. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this icons dot, let's see, location on. So this is the icon we want, and give it a size, say 25, and what else? Color, give it a color, app colors dot let's see, main black color, or go ahead with the yellow color, actually yellow color. Okay, now let's save it and see. Okay, right over there. Okay, now we want to give it a bit of padding, so this container should have a bit of padding inside because it's too close to this left side, so give it a padding. Now here we do edge insets and symmetric, and do horizontal because we want both left and right over here, and we do dimensions dot let's see, with 10. Okay, all right, so that's one, and we'll come over here, and right after this we'll have our address, the address we want to show over here. Okay, now for the address itself we want to take all the available space as well as okay, so first to give it all the available space, so we'll use expanded widget, and right over here we'll use our text. Okay, now inside this text we want to show the address. Do remember we already have an address, so that address we want to get. Now that address, if we want to get, look at this location controller. Now here we do have this peak position. It has some address, and place mark also had address. So place mark actually the one we want, because you see we save it inside this place mark and save what? Save the address. Now this address actually we get from geocode. Okay, so yeah, so this update position over here, we have this condition which is change address. If it is true, then we get from geocode, we get the string and then save it in a place mark. So this is the one that we want to play around over here. Okay, we want to play around over here. So now of course that's a variable, so if you want to show information in a text widget from a variable, then you need to do this. This is called string interpolation. You need to have this single quotes and then $, and then this. Yeah, that does look like a lot of work. So here we do location control, and here we do place mark, peak place mark, this one, and then we do name. All right, okay. Now if it is empty, if it is null, then we will show just empty string. Okay, so that's what we want to do. All right, so let's go ahead. Yes, we can already see this one. So this is our address. Okay, perfect. And we want to give it some style over here. So this is the text, and right after this we want to give it style, and so we do text style. Let's see. Yes, and we'll definitely give it color. So here color, colors.white, and font size, I think we can also do font size. Okay, so that it's coming from dimensions dot let's see, what font we have. We do have 26. Let's see. Oh, that's way too big. Font 16. Well, I think then we'll skip this one and we'll just stick to the default font size. Okay, all right. And then we also want to do some max lines, and max line should be coming from here, max lines, and 1. And we can also set overflow, and then actually we can use a bigger font size. So here we do overflow, say text overflow, yeah, dot ellipsis. Okay, now if we use font size, say dimensions dot font, yeah, so we will have a little bit overflow over here. Okay, yeah, so this is the address that we wanted to get. Okay, so now so far the address is working. Okay, now as you move on this, as you see, it changes immediately. Okay, so it's being dynamic and persistent. All right, great. So next we'll see how to go ahead and save this one. So you want to save, so you should have a button over here, and as you click on the button, it would save and take you to the earlier page. Well, over here actually we want to show come over here and show a button over here, and as we click on the button, we want to save the address we have, and then go back. Okay, so for this one we are going to create a custom button over here, and we'll call it custom button.dart. Okay, and here we'll create a stateless class, and we'll call it custom button. All right, and let's import some of the libraries. Okay, cool. Now once we call this button, we will send some arguments to it. Now definitely we'll be calling it actually from here right after this one. Okay, so as we call it, we'll pass arguments to it. All right, so we want to get them here. So what do you want to get? Definitely we'll send a callback function from here. Okay, so we'll send a callback function over here, and as we click on the button, it will do some task, finish it, and go back. So the first thing we want to send is a callback function, but to be able to send a callback function on Flutter, you do a void callback like this, okay, and then onpressed. Onpressed is the name of the parameter that you are going to send, or arguments actually, from here, and the type is void callback. Okay, just like if you have a type string and name of the variable, so it's a type, it's a function type, and name of this function is onpressed. Okay, so here we'll have final and a string, and we'll have button text definitely, and we'll have final bool, and we want to work with the color of the button and transparent. Okay, this button would be reusable, so that's why we are using a lot of the properties over here. So here I do have final edge insets. We want to have this one, and this is about margin, and then we'll also have height, so we do double height, and the final, say, width, and double width, final double font size. So yeah, these are all should be either you send as arguments or you don't. Okay, and final double radius. Okay, final icon data icon. All right, so now a lot of them are required, a lot of them are not required. Okay, so over here we'll have this dot onpressed, this one, and definitely need to remove const. Okay, and let's see, and the text button, so required this dot button text, and this dot transparent, this one default value is false, this dot margin, this dot width, this dot height. These are some of them either optional or with the no value. That means there will be null, which we'll do a check later. This dot font size, this dot radius. Now this will have a default value if you don't provide anything, and then we'll have icon. All right, now error is gone. So some of them are optional, and if it's optional, either you can provide over here this one, the value, default value, or it could be like you don't provide any value, then it would be null. So here this says that this could be null, including the function itself. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the basic constructor. Now inside this build method, definitely here we'll return a button. The button will have some style, so we want to work on the style first. Okay, so here we'll create a text button, this one, text button dot style form. Okay, so here actually we want to use our button and its style. Now then we'll create an instance later on. So first we want to wrap everything inside this style form. Okay, and then we'll create an instance and we'll return from here. Okay, so here it will have a background color. Now background color depends on onpressed event, whether onpressed event has been given or not. If it is null, as I said earlier, so it could be, it might not be given. In this case this would be null. So if it is null, then we'll use a color. So we'll use a theme dot of context, and now it has a disabled color, so that's the color we'll use if it is null. Okay, now if it is not null, okay, then first we'll check whether this value has given or not. Okay, so that's what we want to check. So here we'll check on transparent. Okay, transparent. Now if transparent is true, which defaults as false if we don't give any value, but if we give a value, that in that case that would be true. Now if this is true, then we'll use colors dot transparent. Okay, which means, okay, make it transparent, use a transparent color. All right, now if it is not true, which is false, then we'll use a theme dot of context, and here we'll go ahead with primary color. Okay, all right, so that's about the background color. Once again, if it is no onpressed event has been given, just this button is disabled. That means you can't click on this button and the button color is disabled. Okay, because no onpressed event. But if there is onpressed event, then first we check this value. If this is true, then we use transparent. If the value is not given, then we'll use a primary color. All right, so that's about this color. Now we'll also use minimum size. Minimum size. Now here we'll use size, this one. Now here first we want to check the width. Now if width is not null, okay, if width is not null, then we'll use whatever the width has been given. Like, otherwise we'll use say dimensions. Okay, let's see, screen width. So this is the one that we want to use. Okay, and let's see. Okay, cool. So if width is null, then we'll use screen width. Otherwise, whatever the width is given, that one we'll use, and we are saying that it won't be null. Okay, now here for height, the situation is same, pretty much same. If the height is not null, okay, which means it's given, then we'll use the height, whatever the height was given. Otherwise we'll use the height 50. Now this 50 height would be pretty much like this one. Okay, all right. Okay, now here we'll use padding, and as insets 0. Okay, and then shape, the button shape. Now the shape is let's see here, rounded rectangle shape. This is the one we want to use, and border radius, and border radius dot circular dot radius. Okay, so that's what we want to use. And everything is here, so the default radius is 5 if not given. Okay, now with this we are done with the style of the button. Okay, but of course our button will have several other properties and things like that, so we need to work on them now. Okay, so we'll replace this one. Now whatever the button will have, we want to put everything in the center of the button, so that's why we use center. Now inside this we'll have a child. Okay, and child will have a sized box. Now here we want to have width. Now width is here, this width is not null, then we'll use the width. Otherwise we'll use dimensions screen width. So for this one, we'll once again are checking if this width is not null or not. Okay, if this is not null, then we use this one. Otherwise we would be use this one. Let's see, convert to, well, if it works like this, yes, we can also do like this. null checker operator, no problem. And now the height is pretty much like that. So height, otherwise 50. Okay, all right. Now the style of this button, style, okay, all that would be coming later. Now here we need to set up child first. Okay, so child is text button, this one. Okay, now it will have a style. Let's see what's happening. Required onpressed event. Okay, we'll do that. And what else? And the style. Now the style object would be coming from actually from here, so we want to create an instance of this one. So here we'll do final button style, and we'll call it flat button. Okay, now this is the instance that we want to use here. Okay, and let's see what else we need. And we also need a child over here. Okay, all right. Now the child itself, here it's gonna work like in a row, because just like this one, first we want to show an icon and then whatever we have next. So that's what we want to do. So the child would be a row and children, and we want to put everything in the center of this horizontal axis. So main axis alignment in center. Now here, first we need to check this icon, this one, whether this icon is null or not. Okay, all right. So we'll check here icon, this one. While icon not null, then we'd use something, and that something would use we'd wrap around this padding. Okay, otherwise we'd use over here just a simple sized box. Okay, all right. Now padding, of course, there's a child and padding itself, so I'll come down over here. All right, now for padding itself, we'll have insets dot only. Now here we just want to use padding on the right because we'll have a button and we want to apply padding to the right. So we do right, and dimensions dot say we want to use width, and we'll use a very little bit of padding. Okay, all right. And then over here we would want to use child. Now child itself should be the icon because this icon is not null, so we are going to use the icon. Now inside this we'll just simply go ahead and put our icon, whatever the icon was there. Now icon should have color, and then we would use would check the color is transparent or not. If the color was given transparent, then the icon color would be primary color of context, and then here we would do primary color. Okay, so if the transparent is true, then the icon color itself is the primary color, which is actually the opposite over here. Okay, if it is transparent, then the color is this one. If it is transparent, the background color would be transparent itself, otherwise it would be use the primary color. Now here for icon we are doing the opposite actually. So if it is transparent, icon itself, the boolean variable, it is transparent, then for the icon we use the primary color, otherwise we would use a different color. So theme.ofContext.card color. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. All right, so now let's see what else, and one more thing, and after that we'd be able to use the button. So that's our icon, and after that we want to use a text. Okay, so here is the text. Now for the text itself we would use button text. Okay, now if button text whatever the button text is there, we'll use that, otherwise we'll keep it empty. Okay, like this. Okay, if button text is not there, and then we'll use style, and let's see, button text itself, well, it won't be null actually because it's required, so we don't need to use it like this actually, and which doesn't make sense anyway. So here we'd use a style and text style. Now for it we'd use font size. Now font size is not null, then whatever the font size was there, we'll use that. Otherwise, if the font size is null, then we'll get one from our dimensions, and here it's font 16, like that. And color, once again, we'll check if it's a transparent color, then you just like this icon, actually you can just copy this one. I think it would make more sense. Okay, let's see. And it looks like this is redundant. Okay, cool. So now with this, we are done with this button. So now we'll be able to go ahead and call it from here. So this is where actually we want to put our button like that. Okay, anyway, so here we'll start first with a position widget right after that, and let's see. So here we want to set up a child, and the child should be custom button, the one we already built, that one. Okay, and it has some properties that we need to set up, like button text, this one. Okay, all right, now just to go ahead and say pick address for now. Okay, and we want to set up the position of it, so bottom, and say 200, and left we do dimensions dot say width 20, and right dimensions dot width 20. Okay, now with this, let's save our button and see where it is. Okay, we do have an issue we can see. Okay, null checker used on a null value, which is this one, custom button. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, was null. With this null, then we are supposed to use the width, so we are not giving any width to it, so that's another problem. That's what's causing it problem. And let's see, yeah, so we don't have any default value for width. Okay, so here we are saying that if width is null, then use the width. So of course that doesn't make sense. So here, say for example, we can set up a width, say for example 280, just like that. Okay, so here we see this one. Okay, so something's like that. Okay, and okay, let's go ahead and continue. If it is let's come over here. So for now we'll stick to this one. Let's continue. Okay, so this is the button that we have right now, and we are saying this pick address and things like that. Actually, we can do a conditional check on this, because pick address or address location. Okay, we'll do that later. Maybe we'll just keep it here, because we will add a more conditional check on this button. This button would be yes, complex one. Now here would have this onpressed event. Okay, Now onpressed events depends on a lot more things. First one, we'll use location controller over here, and it has this loading, this one. All right, so over here, if it's still loading, then onpressed event is null. Okay, all right. Otherwise, we'll send an onpressed event. Okay, so if it's still in loading mode, so you can't really click on this. Okay, you won't be able to click. Otherwise, when the loading is done, we'll fall back to this condition. Okay, all right. And inside this, actually, we do one check first. Okay, all right. So we need to make sure that the user is somewhere selected something. Okay, so at least the user latitude and longitude is not 0. In that case, we will be able to click on this. So this is what we want to check first. Okay, all right. So here we do location controller, say, and pick position, this one. This is a property which is called latitude. Latitude is not equal 0. And we want to set another condition over here, location controller dot pick place mark dot name, okay, not equal null. So it means this place exists. Okay, if it's false to this condition, yes, then we can go ahead and do something. All right, yeah, so we'll check on this condition over here, and we did already. After that, we'll check another one. So if widget, because this is a stateful class, widget dot from address, this one, if it is from address, yes, it means we are talking about the earlier page. We are checking from where we came, because this place actually would be shown in this map, would be shown in 2 or 3 different places. Right now we are just showing it from our address page. We click and we come over here. Actually, during sign up, we'll be able to use this one again. So that's why we're doing a lot of checking over here. All right, so if it is from address, and then we'll check one more thing. Okay, widget dot Google controller map, this is not null. Okay, so the map has been created when we come over here. Then we want to be able to click on this. Okay, yes, and yes, if this falls to this condition, yes, we want to go ahead and do the actual callback method. Okay, the one that we need to do the operations. Okay, so here we need to create a method, because once everything is done, that means the user has selected, and so we'd be able to click on this. User has done a lot of operations, then we want to be able to click on this. Okay, otherwise we don't want to click on this. Now here actually we can print, say, a method over a log. Okay, now you can click on this. Okay, now you can click on this. Okay, or now you clicked on this. Okay, you clicked on this. All right, okay, now you clicked on this. Let's see, we are here. Okay, let's start everything from the scratch. Okay, let's click on this. Okay, well, it's not responding. Let's see, onpressed event here. If loading is true, okay, let's see. So we need to check this value over here actually. So let's go ahead and check a value with this one. So make sure that we are doing good. Print should be null, value. And key. Let's hot reload and click on this. Well, just now it didn't work on the click button because here we are missing something. We are not using this onpressed event, the one we are sending. Okay, so here it's all empty right now. So we need to pass the onpressed event, which is this one. Okay, so now if we click on this, restart it, and if you click, and you'll see that we have the message where it says that you clicked on this. Now this primary color is also wrong because this is not our primary color. It should be this one actually. So for this one actually we can go ahead and set up in our main.dart our primary color. So inside this just simply go ahead and put this one, theme color. So from here you can get your primary color, import the package, and yeah, we should be good to go. Now if we restart it, yeah, so this is what we see and this is what we wanted to see. Now let's work on this size. Actually this size is awkward, so we'll just remove this one. We don't need this. If the size is null, then I mean the width actually, I'm sorry, if the width is null, then here whatever the width was, if the width is null, then we'll use screen width. Otherwise, whatever was given, then that one will be used. So let's restart it. Now you see it works. And if you say come over here and give it say width and say width like 200, and it still work. So it will be using the given width. Okay. All right. So that means this button is reusable. Okay. Now we'll come down over here. First, we would do one thing about this map, because once we click on this, we want to save the camera position, because once you move like this, the camera position has been changed. So you want to change the camera position, okay, and save it, because it changes all the time. So once you click on this, you want to save on the click on this one. Okay, so to do that, here we need to call, this is called widget.google map controller dot move camera, this one. Okay, now here it takes camera update, so that's what we have, camera update. Let's see, most probably we need a null checker over here. And actually we can put it here. We are saying that Google Map Controller is not null. Okay, then it should work. Now right over here we would call camera update, this one, and dot new camera position. So before we go ahead and save, so save the camera position. Okay, all right, now here inside this one, once again we'll have camera position method. Okay, new camera position. So here we use camera position. Okay, now here target is, it takes latitude and longitude. So here we do lat lang, this one. Now inside this, oh, it's a lot of code here, right? Anyway, so now inside this we do location controller, and then pick position, this one, and then latitude, and then location controller, pick position, then longitude. Okay, all right, so now, okay, so first we save the new camera position, and then we'll actually save something, and after that actually we'll be able to return. So here we need to create a new method. So let's come over here, and at the bottom over here, location controller, create a method called save user address. I think save add address data. So, or we'd call it set add address data, this one. Okay, all right, so here we'll save our new address, which is being generated after moving the camera. So just I was making sure some of the variables, yes, we all have. So here positions. So here we would use pick positions and place mark equal pick place mark, and update address data equal false, and then we'll do update because the screen needs to be updated. Now these are the variables that change immediately as you move on the screen, which we have seen early in our update position method. As you see, position, pick position, so they keep changing, and pick place mark. So before you return, so let's go ahead and save them. So that's what we did, and I think our return type is void, so just go ahead and pass that one. Now right after this, you call this method here, location controller dot set address data, this one. So now right over here, right after this, actually you want to get back. Okay, get back. All right, so you go back. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so now let's save it. Okay, and right now let's go ahead and change the address. Let's see, so 21275. Now you want to click on this. Okay, so here you also see 1275. So this is coming back from our earlier position, and of course the map has a bit of problem once we come back, so we also have to fix. Anyway, so let's go ahead and come over here. So this is 1275, this is 1275, yes. Okay, all right, and keep moving. Let's see. Okay, but once you come back, you see it doesn't update. Okay, so now this is another problem that we need to take care. But here we see that as we move on, this doesn't get updated. Well, the reason is actually when you click on this button first time, then this is get called, which is this one, and over here we set this update address data to false. Now this data has been used over here. If you take a look at the top, so here we have a conditional check. If this is true, then we go ahead and update everything. All right, so this is where it's causing the problem. Now we need to turn it to true. Okay, so here we do update address data true. So after saving it, next time when you come here, first time definitely it is false. If it is false, then we go ahead and turn it to true. Okay, so next time it would work. So now let's go ahead and refresh it, reload. Not sure it would work. Well, if it didn't work now, no worries, we can always okay, yeah, it's working now. Okay, all right, so go back, and well, now this is another problem, but we'll take care of that soon. Now you move. Okay, as it works now, as you can see. Okay, all right, so this was the boolean that's causing this problem. Now the reason why we did that, in future in many other places this would be quite important, so that's why we are using this boolean, but we can easily turn it on, turn it off just by doing this conditional check. If it is false, then we turn it on. Okay, well, now the other problem, we need to take care of this one. Now most probably this is caused by this get.back. Now get.back creates a lot of problem. It doesn't update things as you want, and it also might not initialize things as you want. So we'll replace this one. Okay, so here we do get.toNamed, this one. Okay, and here we just simply call route helper dot get address page. Okay, now with this our problem should be solved. Now get.back does create a lot of problem, so this one is a get.back, oh sorry, creates update problem. So if you say if you want to update a list or a value, so a lot of time get.back is not suitable, so we'll use this one. Now let's see if we can go back to our original page like shape. Yes, it works now. As you see, it become bigger. All right, so yeah, it's working. Yeah, so let's see. So here we are, pick the address, so we see 1N. Now we can save it. Of course, now if we go back and see, yes, this is the latest saved address, and here we are, and you click on this and we see 1N, and yes, now 103 NE. So yes, 103 NE. Okay, so now another thing I want to do with this button pick map, so let's try with 80. Okay, all right, so yeah, so I think this is better. Well, so far we have spent a lot of time for this button, and actually we also made a dedicated class for this one, and we have done a lot of conditional check, and you may wonder why. Actually, this button is just not a button, it's more than that. It will also give you a lot of messages, and we are working to it slowly. Well, first thing we want with this button is that until this page is loaded, we don't want to show this button. Once the page is completely loaded, then we want to show this button. That's one thing. And another thing we want to do with this button, because in future we'll create a zone-based service. Imagine this app, anyone randomly downloads your app, and then say your food provider or food deliverer in California, but someone in Washington downloads this app. Definitely we want to deliver the food from California to Washington. So here the Google map would tell you whether this user within this service range or not. So this button will also show you a message that whether you are inside the service area or not. Okay, so that's why this button is crucial and very important. Now, first thing we want to go ahead and create a method. Inside the method, actually, we'll see whether certain user is inside this zone or not, service zone or service area. Of course, first we'll start simple, but as we work on this app, it will get more complicated and it will be more completed. Okay. Anyway, so first we need to come over here and we'll create some variables at the top over here right after this. Okay, all right, so here we'll create a variable and we'll call it bool is loading, and it is false. Okay, now this variable would be used in for service zone. Okay, service zone, I like that. And then we'll also we'll create another variable we'll call is zone, or maybe in zone, it makes more sense, and false. And here it would be whether the user is in service zone or not, service zone or not. Now the top variable would be used together here with this, and this is the one that would actually justify whether a user is in service zone or not. Okay, all right, and then we'll create another bool that is called this button disabled. Button disabled it, and we'll set it to false. Okay, so this would be for showing and hiding the button as the map loads. Okay, all right, now here at the same time actually we need to go ahead and do getter. So here we do bool get, and before that actually we need to turn it to private variable. Now we could do bool get is loading, okay, and is loading. All right, and here we want to do the same. So here we do bool get in zone. Okay, and here the same thing, bool get button disabled. Okay, well, for now we need this 3 booleans to work with our new method. Okay, all right, so here we'll go at the bottom, and here we'll create a method, and the method name is getzone actually, and it would get string lat and string longitude, and then we'll also want to send a bool over here for marker load, yeah, this one. Okay, now this will have a return type, and return type would be response model, and you might wonder what is response model, and we previously created. So this is the one, actually a lot of time we use this one to work with network request, whatever the response we get, and we put it there so that we can use in our app later. So we want to return our response object from here. I mean this type of object from here. Okay, so here we do future and response model. Okay, this is the one we want to return, and first we'll go ahead and create an object from this response model, and we'll create response model. Okay, all right, now here we'll just simply return response model. Now the error should be gone, and let's see. Okay, so here we can tag it as late, otherwise we'll have error. Let's see what is saying it. Replace response model, and maybe I had an error though. Okay, just okay, now this problem is happening because it's late and it is not assigned yet. That's why we are getting this error. So we'll skip ignore this error. Okay, anyway, so now we want to check on this one. So check if marker load is true, then here we do loading equal true, else we want to work on this is loading. Okay, all right, so now this get zone would be called from many different places, so that's why we have this one, but for now we'll set it to false, this one, as we call. So this is loading get triggered. Okay, now this would get triggered through from other places, so for now this is okay. And okay, so that's one thing. Now this is the time actually you want to call update. So as this is happening, the UI should know, because the UI would use this variable. So with this, UI would know immediately, okay, we need to update UI based on the conditions or the variables. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's one. And now here first we'll mock our network request over here. So here we do future delayed, and here we do duration and seconds too. First let's understand what's happening here, then we'll return a method. Okay, and most probably we need to use async over here. Yes, it should work. Now here, okay, and let us assign a const over here. Now inside this, actually we want to call this section once again, and yeah, let us take this out. We can just simply put it there, and here we'll set it to false. 2 seconds later, we are assuming everything has been loaded. Okay, so we'll set it to false. Okay, of course, now we also need to work on this response model. Okay, so here our response model would be initialized response model. Okay, now here we'll set it to true, because this is a boolean, and the message would be success. Okay, all right, now the error is gone because it's been initialized. Okay, so now this is the method actually we want to call. As we call, we'll pass this, this, and this, but of course for now we are not using it. Soon we'll create our API and then we'll use this too. Okay, but for now we are just creating a network request mocking. Okay, all right, and here we're just setting it to true, that we assume that everything has gone successfully. 2 seconds later we'll return, so we would be able to animate actually what's happening over here. Okay, now we need to find a place to call this one. Now we want to call it from actually here. This is the perfect place. As we update, as we come to this place, okay, so each time the page get updated or you move it, so this button would be disabled as well. And as user move this map, we keep track their zone by calling this one. Okay, because the user may randomly go to any different places as they move over on this map. So each time this page or gets moved, this get zone or get moved, sorry, get zone would get called. Then we'll talk to the server from here and we'll get a data from the server, and then we'll send the response back. Okay, all right, and as the user moves this one gets called, so this booleans would get changed as well. So as you see, they would get triggered on and off. At the same time, we'll work on the button, because if the user calls this keep moving, you don't want to set a request like this. Okay, so that is that might create actually unexpected result. So the button would be disabled or the button would be gone as the user moves. Okay, so that's where the booleans are coming over here. Okay, let's see. Now here we do have a little problem which we'll fix later. Anyway, so now let's come over here. Yeah, so the idea is as we move, things gets loaded, the button would be disabled. As the loading is done, the button would be updated and would be shown, and it would also show here a certain message. Okay, all right, so now we'll come over here. This is the perfect place because this is the update position method. Okay, so inside over here we'll call our getzone. Now getzone returns a response, future response model. So here I would create a response model object, response model, and here we'll call it response model. Now here we'll call await getzone, this one. Okay, now we need to pass latitude and longitude. Now here we do have a position object, which is this one. Okay, so actually we'll take it from here. So this position object, and we'll grab it over here, and then we'll do target latitude, and here position target longitude. But because we want to send a string, as you can see, so we need to convert it to string. To do to string, and here we do the same to string. Okay, and now here for now we'll set it to false. Okay, all right. So now this one will have our response, whatever it gets from the server. Okay, now we need to check on the response over here. So we'll take the response and response model, and we'll check the boolean is success. Do remember, response model is success over here, and we also have a getter actually is success over here. But for now, I think let's see. Yeah, we are calling the getter actually, because this is a private variable. We can't really call it directly, but we can call this one. Okay, so we are calling this one. All right, and now whatever has been gotten from here, remember once again, over here we are setting it to true. Okay, because the response model takes this one and this one, so the first one we are setting it to true. So in this case is a success would be true. All right, Anyway, so if this returns true, that means over here it would be false. So let's put it to disabled button. Sorry, disabled button. Okay. All right, now I think we need to work on this disabled button a little bit one more time. Instead of getting it to false, let's get it to true. Okay, so in default the button is disabled. Okay, and it could be only enabled based on this one. Okay, all right. So if it is false, that means that we are in the service area. Okay, so here, if button value is false, we are in the service area. Okay, so this is quite important. Anyway, so that's what we have right now. So with this, we are done with the basic conditioning. So we would be reading this condition and this one from our front-end code from this page. Okay, so now we do have a button over here. Let's see, where is our button? Yeah, this is our button. Okay, well, so first we want to check a condition whether the button this page is loading or not. Okay, all right, so here we'll set the condition location controller dot okay, let me go back because I want to cut this one. Now here we do location controller dot is loading. Okay, if location controller is loading is true, then we would do center child circular progress indicator. Okay, all right, otherwise, okay, then we'll show this custom button. All right, so that's the button showing condition. All right, now itself inside the button we have also a text over here. Now pick address, we don't want to show it just like this. We'll check conditional widget from address. If it is true, okay, all right, then we are going to show one thing. If it is from address page, then we say pick address, otherwise we'd say pick location. Now this condition, of course, for now it is false because we are coming from here, right? So it fall back to this text. In future, because when we user downloads the app first time, we'll show our location, then it would become true. Okay, but anyway, so if we are coming from address page, show this one, otherwise show this one. Okay, all right, now we can also do another check. So for that one, we'll cut this one, and here we do location controller dot in zone. Okay, if user is in zone, okay, then we want to show either this or this. Okay, otherwise we'll show over here service is not available in your area. Okay, like that. So service is not available. So if zone, then fall back to this condition, and then we are checking which one we are going from. Is it the address page or from home page? Otherwise we'll fall back to this condition. Okay, all right, so that's one. Now over here I'll cut this one as well, and over here I would do location controller dot disabled button, or this one. Okay, let's see this. Okay, all right, if it's loading, if it's still loading, actually there is nothing over here, so just printing a message. Otherwise we would say, we would show the button itself. Okay, I mean in that case the button would be clickable. Okay, So if it is still loading things, the button is not clickable, or if the button is disabled, button is not clickable because we are not passing anything from here. Okay, all right, so simply actually right now we can replace this one with, I think, null value. Okay, yes, so we are passing null because do remember that over here we are checking whether onpressed event is null or not. Okay, all right, so yeah, let's save it and let's see what's going on. So let's restart everything. So here we are. So now it's loaded. Loading has been done. Now here we are. So now it says that service area was not available in your case. We saw that one, but looks like it's still loading. Okay, while it's still loading, the problem is, I think, right over here, we don't want to have negation of this one because it's only true when it falls to when it starts over here. Okay, so when the request has been done, it becomes false. So if it's false, then we of course want to show the button. All right, so now let's save it. I think it would work. Okay, as you can see. All right, now we might have other issues as well. Okay, so now we see that the button is disabled for a short moment. Okay, yeah, then it becomes enabled. So this part is working, but how about the zone that we have been talking? And over here we also have this message that service area is not available. Now let's mock it over here. So let's come over here and let's start everything from scratch. So we'll come over here. And I think we also need loading icon one over here anyway. So now if you come and it's first shows that service area is not available, and it's still, now this time this is as we expected, because do remember that we set it in zone is false. Okay, so now we're not changing the value over here, and when it reads over here, if you see in zone, which is still false, so it directly goes to this one. So you see it says that service area is not available. The service is not available in your area, right? So we can mock it. We can set it to true. Okay, here with in zone equal true. Okay, all right, and let's start everything. Now let's come over here, the address, and now we come over here. So it's loading. Yes, pick up the address. Now let's do like this, loading new map. Okay, loading. Okay, but of course we are doing it manually. Soon we'll see how to talk to the server. All right, so now we'll go ahead and set up our endpoint first. Well, to do that, definitely we need to come to our API constants, app constants file, which is this one. Okay, now right over here, actually I already set up this one. So zone URI, just to go ahead and create one just like this. Okay, so API v1 config get zone ID. So this is the one that we are going to use. Now we need to come to our location repo, and inside location repo I already created a method which is called getzone. So just to go ahead and create a method which is called getzone, and over here we are calling the constants from this app constants. and we would be passing latitude and longitude in the URL. It is a GET request. We'll be passing these parameters in the URL. Now eventually it'll go ahead and call getData, this method, and as it calls, so along the URL it'll send these parameters, the one we are sending from here. Okay, so once again, this is a simple GET request. So right after that, we'll come to our location controller, and this is the place actually where we want to make changes. Okay, so right now we actually don't need this section anymore because this is a dummy network request. So over here we do response, create a response object, and response, I think response model, it's not a response object, and over here okay, great. So now here we do await and location repo and get.zone. All right, so this is the place where we want to send the latitude and longitude. Now this part is coming from here, string lat and lang. Okay, all right, let's see. And we do have a bit of error over here. Location repo get zone. Oops, not this one though. Let's come to the end. Oh, sorry, this has to response, not response model. Oh, sorry about that, because this one always get a response, not response model. Okay, so yeah, right after that we'll be checking first with the status code, and it is always important when you get a network request you check the response, otherwise you don't know what's happening. Okay, and a lot of you are in part 3, you are saying that it's not loading like the network request. Go ahead and check the status code and you'll know actually what the problem is. Anyway, so now here we do status code, response status code. We'll check if it is 200 or not. And there's another problem here, response as this one. Okay, cool. All right, so if so we'll go ahead and check if it is 200, that means it worked. All right, else there is some problem here. Okay, now here if it is 200, do remember that we set up a variable at the top which is in zone. Okay, so we want to set it to true. Okay, so here in zone to true, it means that we got a zone from our database. Okay, now over here otherwise just do in zone false to make sure that it is false. All right, okay, now over here we'll have let's see this one, so we'll create an object for this one and we'll do response model. Okay, now here we are passing true, which worked, and the message is now this is the message actually we want to set, and this message would be coming from actually server. So now here we'll do zone ID, okay, to string. All right, so actually this should be value. Okay, otherwise if we didn't get 200, then here we can just simply do this one, response dot status text. Okay, all right, and we'll say it's not going to be null, and that's all. So we'll talk to the server and wait until it gets it, and if it's 200, then everything worked. If not 200, something went wrong. Now in your case, somehow if you don't get 200, just go ahead and print response.statuscode and see what's happening here, okay? Because if you get a status code like say if your status code is 200, say for example, of course that went well. And if your status code is 404, that means you have problem with the server, your route, okay? If your status code is 500, that means problem with the server, not with the app. Something went wrong, and most probably those errors are like maybe you are doing wrong calculation, things like that, okay? Mostly it's simple problems. Now 404 is a route problem. Now if you get 403, then it means it's a permission problem. So if you know the status code and the meaning, actually it's easy to debug. All right, so I really hope that you'll go ahead and debug using this status code if you ever encounter problem. Okay, so here I'll just simply do for debugging. All right, okay, now with this we are good. Okay, after that let's take a look at the back end. Okay, now here I'm in my VS Code, and here, so this is the endpoint getzone ID, which is coming from our endpoint getzone ID, right? So it would get called here. Then we need to find config controller, and there is a method called getzone. Now config controller is let's come to our controllers folder over here, and inside this API folder here, this one, okay? Now over here we have this method which is called getzone. Okay, this is the getzone method. Now do remember that we are passing a latitude and longitude over here, a latitude and longitude, if you see. Okay, now because we are in Laravel, so it would be taken in the request object. So first we do a validation, make sure that we have lat and lang. There has to be record value. Okay, if we are missing, then this one would tell you that something is missing. Okay, all right. Now because I said lat and lang in the request object, so you can get them. And here we have a class which is called point. So based on that, it converts it to point. And then from database, a data table, which is zone. Okay, so from that zone, we see that those points, whether contains in the coordinates or not, we get a record based on that. Now this is a built-in method. You don't need to worry about that one. Now this part is pretty complicated. For now, we are returning hard-coded value 1. But in future, this part is a bit advanced, which I'm not going to cover in this part, hopefully in part 7 or 8, not now, because it would take a lot of time to work on these things. But it does look like just a few lines of code, but it has to do a lot with the tables, set up tables and things like that. But it gives you a good starting point. So if you downloaded the backend code, everything is there, actually, this part. So now this point class is coming from this Grimsy library, okay? All right. Now, if you want to know about Grimsy library, so you can come to their official website, which is this one, okay? Now it's a Laravel package for getting point and geometric data, things like that. So our backend already has this one, but if you want to do experiment on your own, go ahead and do or install separately if you just want to make your own experiment. Okay, and if you really want to be a good developer, do remember that working with this kind of things is crucial. Okay, because here based on this you can get user location, things like that. But of course this helps you to convert user location into points, points to coordinates, coordinates to latitude and longitude. When you become a bit of advanced level developer, you should be working with this kind of stuff. Now over here we do have the basic setup. Okay, so we already installed it, so you don't have to install. So but if you want to know more, go ahead and do your own research. All right, anyway, so here we have data table which is called a zone in our. So here, this is the zone data table, and it has this fields. Okay, all right. So you should have this in your own table as well, the one you downloaded from part 2 from GitHub. Okay, yeah. And for now, here as you see that we also have coordinates. Okay, and statuscode mostly would be working with this coordinates and statuscode. So here you see the coordinates, and so what it does, so whatever you send, it converts it to a point, and point is sent to, well, this contains method, and now it matches points against coordinates and get the latest one if there is one, if it can find a match. Then here we have the zones object, but now this becomes a bit more complicated. Even I have done this, but I'm returning hard-coded value because it requires more of this code. But now there's a problem with this. The part of this code is easy, but it does require complex setup over here itself in this field, okay, which I'm not going to cover once again in this tutorial. In future tutorial, I'll cover this. But if you want to go ahead and do your own experiment, this is good enough to start with. That's my point. Okay, so from the server, if we get request to 1, okay, and we will because the value is hard-coded, okay, it means that we are in service zone. But the dynamic way is to work with this kind of code, okay, and complex setup over here. But once again, I'm not going to cover this one in this section. We'll do it in future. Anyway, so now this is our backend and endpoint as well as our method, okay? So if you want to make any changes, you have to come over here and make the changes. So yes, now this is ready over here and as well as over here, okay? Now we'll go ahead and start our app, and we'll see that if we are in the zone or not, okay? Now what I said that we'd be always in zone because we are setting a value over here equal 1, okay? So there is always a value, so we'd be always in zone. All right. So let's go ahead and restart the app. Not really restart, completely start because I closed it. Okay, well now in this case, if we didn't get any response, let's go ahead and check the response, okay? So this would be a good debugging point. So here zone response code is, all right, let's see. Okay, so let's restart from the scratch. Yes, we do get 200 over here, so which means we fall into this category. We might have other issues in our front-end code. Well, after looking at the code, actually, I found I didn't change this booleans, okay? So let's go ahead and change them, because here at the beginning we set them to true, which triggers this loading icon to be there. Because if you see over here, if it is true, then we show the loading icon with this circular progress indicator. If it is false, then we see the custom button. Now, as we saw earlier, that we already get status code 200 from here, right? So then whatever it is, after the request has been completed, we just want to set them once again. Now here they would be false and false as well, okay? All right. So now let's restart. So get over here and load it and click on this. Yeah, so it means we are in the zone. But now here, if you once again want to simulate that you are not in the zone, you could do like this. If response body zone ID not equal to, okay, so here actually I'll cut this one, else this. It's not equal to, because right now we are returning 1, right? So definitely we'll return 1, but you can here simulate. So if it's not equal to, you can just simply response model false. Okay, so definitely will fall into this category, right? And then what we'll see that here it will say that you are not in the service zone. So let's go ahead and restart one more time. So let's see what's happening. Now, of course, this button is not clickable. That's true because we are here. But at the same time, we were supposed to see that. It says that we are not in the service area. So here, okay, this one. Because if you want to simulate that you are not in the service area, you also need to change this value. But I set it to true. So here we'll set it to false. And here definitely is it true, right? Okay, cool. And one more time. I think I do have an error. It's a zone ID, not the zone ID. Let's go ahead and check it. And let's do it. Yes, you are not in service area, right? Okay. Because we are returning 1, but we are checking against 2. So 1 is not 2. So this is false, right? Okay. And otherwise this would be true. So hopefully it makes sense. Okay. Anyway, so that's how you simulate your zone service. All right. So now if we would go back and set back what we had early. Yeah, that's the perfect one. Okay, let's go back to our original state. So it will say pick address, and we'll be able to pick our address from here. Okay, pick address 225. Let's save address. Perfect. So far this part is working. Yeah, this is our address, the one we have saved. Okay,